Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the high-stakes, incredibly fast-moving world of automated insulin delivery. This is a space where cutting-edge software is literally meeting life-saving hardware. And let me tell you, the competition right now is absolutely fierce. So the big question we're answering today is, who is actually winning this billion-dollar race? And what's really fascinating here is that this market is no longer just about building functional medical equipment. We are witnessing a massive, fundamental shift away from bulky, traditional medical devices towards sleek, software-driven consumer lifestyle products. It's an entirely new frontier. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the patch pump boom. Then, knowing the customer. Third, a billion-dollar milestone. And finally, we'll unpack the pay-as-you-go pivot. Section 1, the patch pump boom. Right now, Insulet's Omnipod 5 system is absolutely dominating. They are capturing nearly 60% of all new pump patients in the US. Because of that commanding lead, everyone else is scrambling for a piece of this rapidly expanding pie. Heavyweights like Medtronic, well, they had a deal to acquire EOFlow that completely fell through, so now they're forced to bring pump development in-house just to stay relevant. Meanwhile, you've got Tandem Diabetes Care fighting back hard. They actually acquired AMF Medical, the makers of the Sigi semi-reusable patch pump, specifically to stay fiercely competitive in this wearable space. But look, it's not just the legacy giants playing this game anymore. We're seeing a whole new wave of aggressive innovators entering the field. We're talking about companies like Roche with their Accu-Chek Solo, and Becta, who is focusing heavily on type 2 diabetes, along with Pharmasense and Modular Medical. And what exactly are they targeting? A massive $3 billion U.S. market opportunity made up of what they call almost pumpers. These are people currently relying on multiple daily injections, just waiting for a simple, accessible device so they can finally make the switch. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where product design is heading. The industry is pivoting so hard toward aesthetics right now. Vicentro recognized that users simply don't want to feel like patients wearing traditional medical equipment all day. They want a premium consumer look and feel. They want something discreet, something that adapts to their lifestyle, and frankly, something that actually looks good, like offering a pump in 10 vibrant colors. Moving right along to Section 2, knowing the customer. Let's take a look at Tandem's user base as a prime example of who is actually adopting these devices. Right now, 90% of their users have type 1 diabetes, but the really exciting dynamics are happening on the edges. Their absolute fastest growth is currently in the pediatric and adolescent segment, which is largely driven by FDA clearances for younger kids, along with the emerging type 2 market, which now makes up about 10% of their shipments. Now, what's really interesting about this is how much patient expectations have shifted for 2026. Today's patients prioritize software sophistication way over simple hardware durability. They want closed-loop automation integrated right with their continuous glucose monitors to reduce that daily cognitive burden. They want smartphone bolus control. In fact, 85% of people rank that as a top 3 purchase driver. They also demand remote, over-the-air firmware updates so their device actually gets smarter over time. But above all else, they just want discretion and normalcy. But wait, here is a massive reality check. Even with the sleekest consumer features imaginable, the healthcare provider is still the ultimate gatekeeper. In 2025, clinical team recommendations drove a staggering 70% of new Tandem users. This proves that no matter how amazing your app or your pump design is, winning over endocrinologists and diabetes educators is absolutely critical if you want widespread adoption and if you want to navigate reimbursement. All right, Section 3, a billion-dollar milestone. In 2025, Tandem hit an absolutely monumental milestone. They broke the billion-dollar mark, pulling in $1.015 billion in worldwide sales for the full year. That is a crystal clear indicator that their shift toward these software-integrated, lifestyle-friendly platforms is deeply, deeply resonating with the market. And honestly, that momentum just kept rolling right into 2026. When you compare the first quarter of 2025 to the same time in 2026, you really see their strategy paying it off. Worldwide sales jumped from $234.4 million to $247.2 million, and that was driven by over 29,000 pump shipments in that quarter alone. But more impressively, they expanded their gross margin from 51% up to 55% and drastically slashed their operating loss from nearly $121 million all the way down to just $17.4 million. That is a fantastic turnaround.
So how are they doing this? A huge driver of this recurring financial health comes down to their incredible platform stickiness. Tandem is seeing greater than 90% retention for Tandem's source users beyond 2 years. Why? Because they've built this seamless digital ecosystem. It connects patients directly with their clinicians and provides these actionable data insights that make it incredibly difficult and, frankly, totally unnecessary for a user to even think about switching to a competitor.
Which brings us to our final section, the pay-as-you-go pivot.
Tandem is pulling off a really bold move here. They are actively shifting away from the traditional hardware-heavy model. Historically, getting a pump required a massive upfront purchase, which obviously created a huge barrier to entry for a lot of people. Instead, Tandem is pivoting toward a software-centric, subscription-like pharmacy model, a pay-as-you-go structure essentially. This drastically lowers that initial cost, making the technology so much more accessible to that massive group of almost pumpers we talked about earlier.
So, the crucial point is really captured perfectly by Tandem's CFO, Lee Vossler. She noted that this new model provides affordable access to customers and progresses our business toward more predictable and profitable revenue. Now, transitioning to this pay-as-you-go model does create a temporary headwind. We're talking $70 to $80 million on their books for 2026, but it's a highly calculated play. It sets the company up for incredibly predictable long-term recurring revenue and really aggressive global expansion in 2027 and beyond.
Which leaves us with this final, burning question to ponder. With Medtronic's retooling, all these new innovators crashing the party, and Insulet currently holding the crown, will Tandem's software-first pay-as-you-go strategy be enough to overtake Insulet's dominant market share in the years to come? It is a billion-dollar race, and the rules of the game are literally changing in real time. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Definitely keep an eye on this space, because the future of medtech is happening right now.